Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another interview here at CloudFest USA 2025. I'm sitting next to my good friend, longtime friend since Germany CloudFest, the OG, the big one in Roost. This is Alain Schlesser. We did an interview actually in the Kontiki room. I think that was on the channel.
Yes.
That was a great chat back then. But we are now in the United States, not Germany. We're in Miami, Florida. How's everything been so far this week, Alain?
First of all, hi everyone. It has been great. The CloudFest USA event is quite different from the European one, but it's always fun to see different variations on the same theme and see how things are handled differently and the different solutions they come up with. So that has been fun. I have been quite busy behind the scenes. I did a talk just earlier. So I had to do a lot of preparation, but now I can fully enjoy the networking part. And of course, here there's a bit of a different crowd. Some people, you know them from Europe already, but also some they are more focused on local market here. So that's always a great opportunity to properly connect with a different market. So I really enjoy that.
Absolutely. So I kind of want to unpack this a little, Lang. The first time we chatted was, again, back then during everything in Germany, right? A little earlier this year. And, I want to take a moment. I do want to talk a little bit more about CloudFest. I want to talk specifically about our main topic here that we chatted with off camera. We'll introduce in a second. But I want to talk about you for a second. You are an impressive man that I've just noticed over the last little bit here. You know so much about. I'm not trying to glaze you here with this, but I want to get the audience to understand this. Like, you know so much about, and I think it comes from your history, which we'll talk about here, about just WordPress in general. But I've been able to sit in the room with you, so to speak, as you tackle these technical problems and you've educated me on all of the different projects that that you've worked on, that teams have worked on, that you're working on, everything like that. In these different CloudFest associated rooms and everything. You know so much about this stuff. Now we don't need to talk about specifics of anything, but I'm saying where did you, and just give the people a little bit of a backstory about where you've been in your cycle of understanding WordPress, understanding development. It seems like, and this will tie into your doings at Yoast now, but I want to understand your role there, but I want to understand how you got there, because it seems like you are extremely talented from the dev side, but it seems like you've eclipsed that a little bit. You're much more of a thinker and a problem solver and architect in understanding everything, not just, let me just type some code. So I wanted to give you that because I was thinking about this the other day when we were sitting there chatting and having all the conversations. So I wanted to pay you that compliment, and I really wanted to get the backstory on that.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a very, very diverse background in engineering and other areas. So I started with the entire engineering side with development from a very young age onwards, and I was always fascinated by game development. But when it was time to actually look for work, there was no industry in Luxembourg where I grew up at the time. So we're talking about mid to late 90s. There was really no industry in any kind in Luxembourg for that. So I need to find some other employment. I ended up working for the government in Luxembourg, for the Ministry of Justice, working in the administration of a high security prison, which is far removed from games development, of course. But there I was quickly pulled into the IT department as well, because they figured out that I knew much more about all that stuff than the entire IT department. And that's where I was involved more and more into the enterprise side of development, of software engineering. I was always already interested in how to do things properly, how to solve things in an academically clearer way. But here, all of a sudden, it was you could really focus much more on the longer term effects of what you're trying to do, really try to figure out what is the idealized version of this and what are the steps to get there. where with game development, pretty much everything is just a trade-off, and you just fake everything, basically. Whereas in enterprise and government and corporate development, it's the opposite. Everything needs to be correct. And then afterwards, you figure out if you can also make it work quickly enough for people not to get frustrated with it. So that was very, very opposite end of it. But then I got fed up with working for the government itself. The work was super interesting, but working for the government, all the perks that I had were also a bit of a curse, because I ended up doing work for multiple people, because in Luxembourg, when you have a government job, you cannot be easily fired. And so everyone that did not do their job, they still didn't get fired. And I was dependent on them to find my fulfillment. So that was just in the longer run, that didn't work for me. So I decided, together with my wife, who also took the same plunge, we decided to quit our jobs and start freelancing instead, and basically turn around this control relation we have towards work and how we earn our money, so that we never get into that situation again. And that's when I decided to do web development. So I did games development, I did corporate development, and web development was the other main area that I hadn't done at that point. So I just decided, let's go with web development now for a new career. And at the time I looked at just market numbers, saw that WordPress was popular, and thought, okay, can it be too hard to earn money with that? And that's how I ended up in WordPress. But early on, I noticed that WordPress was working very differently than what I was used to. So by then I was really used to very strict engineering procedures and figuring out the problem domain theoretically first, and then coming up with solutions that optimize for the right trade-offs and so on and so forth. And in WordPress, it felt like everyone was just hacking the best first bit together and then launching it in production and seeing what will catch fire. And so that from the beginning, I didn't feel comfortable with that, and I shared a lot about how I'm doing things differently, and that was what got me involved into the community pretty quickly, because it was so different than what most people are doing in the WordPress space. Because WordPress is a bit of a bubble, and mostly WordPress folks learn from WordPress, and WordPress is a bad teacher for engineering principles. There's a very low barrier of entry, which is nice for its success, but bad for teaching people how to do it properly. And so I was quickly involved in the educational part as well, and that's how I got more involved on the WordPress side.
Yeah.
And after a while, I didn't even look specifically for projects to work on and roles to take. It was more that people approached me because someone with a diverse engineering background that is also willing to do WordPress work, that was pretty rare.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I just, we've gotten to spend some time together and like think about some things. And again, like you've educated me on these different topic areas that you've been working on and the teams have been working on. And, I don't know what happened. Like the other day, just kind of a little bit of a revelation. It's like, we'd already chatted, but I just realized that you're very like intelligent and thoughtful all around, which is, I don't know. Other than I'm saying, I'm
just a very curious and interested person in general.
And I think that's awesome. So, I mean, I appreciate your level of, in your capability of like kind of understanding things from the business side, from the architectural side, and all the way down to the code, and kind of putting that all together. So I just thought that was dope. I'm glad. I appreciate the context around all of that. And, kind of one of the topics that we wanted to chat about that kind of goes, I feel like, hand in hand, because it is such a, we can't dig in unbelievably deep because we don't really know the answer to this, but the high level of what is going to happen to the nature of search and the nature of searching information and discovering information moving forward, now that with the advent of AI and how everything is changing and all these things, you think about the traditional WordPress experience, somebody that's putting their website online. Oh, I want to get ranked. Okay, what do I download? I download Yoast SEO plugin, and I, make sure that all my title tags are good and everything's, indexed properly, et cetera, and that's still important for sure, but things are changing, right? So I want to ask you this directly, because I don't know if I've asked you this. You are an employee of Yoast, like the plugin, or how's that work? What's the relationship there? What's your role? Give me a little bit of high level there, and we can dive into some of those topics there.
Yeah, so I'm not technically an employee. I'm a contractor with Yoast. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to have the relationship of control reversed with employment.
Yeah.
But I'm being treated as an employee. It doesn't really change much of how we work together.
Yeah.
I'm principal architect for them.
Nice.
I was joining Yoast about 2.5 years ago to help figure out how to scale Yoast in the broadest sense, how to scale the engineering side, how to scale the product side, how to figure out how we can go from what seems to be plateauing and what seems to be stable only up to a certain size of WordPress sites to something that can more easily grow better. So just scalability in the broadest sense, it was never specifically mentioned that it should be only engineering or so. And I do indeed also appreciate the business aspects of things. And I think that those always go hand in hand. There's no point in creating nice code if there's no economic incentive to use it. I'm always big on figuring out what the incentives are behind things, because that will always be where it naturally tends towards. So if you can figure out what the incentives are, most of the time they are of economic nature, then you can make pretty solid guesses about where it's heading towards. And so with Yoast, I've been doing that now for 2.5 years. And since then, we have been in this transition of people use AI systems to ask questions and they get answers, and seemingly there's no search involved anymore. And what about the traffic, and how do we convert, and where is the money coming from to actually run the websites? So all of those questions, they tie back to AI creating this big upheaval where the human-machine interface is fundamentally shifting. So the way you communicate with machines, machines have learned how to interpret natural language in a way where it's actually becoming useful now. And that is the trigger that caused this shift, where the general way of how people communicate with their machines now has changed. ChatGPT was the Pandora's box that opened it for mainstream. Technologically, this has been happening already for more than a decade in that direction or before. But ChatGPT was the defining moment where it entered the mainstream consciousness and it changed user expectations. So if user expectations change, it doesn't matter whether this is preferable or not. It's just you need to build it in this way, otherwise users will reject it. So those user expectations definitely changed, and they don't want to have a list of links that they click through and then scroll through the websites themselves to get an answer to their question. They want to ask the question and see the answer immediately, straight away. They don't care about how you can still monetize your websites and whether content sites will die or so. Those are not the user's concerns. So we need to figure out, where does that lead us to? What is this new feature that we're heading towards? And how does, for example, a sustainability model for the open web look like in this new feature? Because right now, what we had in the past has stopped working. WordPress, for example, was very big on content sites that produced free content to share with everyone, but it was then monetized via display ads, for example. So you went to Google, searched for something, got your link because of SEO results. You clicked on the link, and while you were reading your free content that answered your questions, you scrolled through display ads, and those display ads were paying the creator of the content to make it worth their while. This economic model is completely dying, because there's less and less people clicking through to the websites. For that reason, there's less and less people buying display ads. This entire economic model is slowly dying. It had already been in a bad shape before, partly because of user expectations again, partly because of regulatory changes, but basically by having answers retrieved directly by AI, that was the final straw for this business model. But that was what kept the open web going. So one of the concerns we're currently trying to figure out with Yoast is, what about the open web? What will happen to it? What does it look like? But then Yoast offers SEO products. And so if that model is dying, what about SEO? Because that was what was driving this entire economic model, how you optimize your websites to get better conversions for your display ads, to be more prominent in the search results so that you get more clicks through to your ads. And this entire ecosystem was based on the foundation that the search engines are the means of discovery. They are the entry point into this ecosystem, and you need to optimize for those as a first step to optimize your revenue. And when you go into something like ChatGPT and you ask a question, well, you don't see this page of search results anymore. So what does that mean for SEO? First of all, SEO is not going away anytime soon, because behind the scenes, there's still search happening. Because something like ChatGPT is based on a large language model, which has training data that is always bound to be stale. So it cannot rely on its training data. So to ground its responses, to make sure that it has up-to-date answers, it will always do search behind the scenes to retrieve results. It then decides what results are worth considering. Then it adds those into its context window and then generates an answer out of the training data it has and the context window with some of the search results combined. So search is not going away. It's still important to optimize for search results. However, it's not that you have like 100 pages of results that you can paginate through. The human doesn't see those results anymore. The AI will see it, and they only consider like the 5 topmost results. So either you are in the top 5 or you don't exist.
It's funny you say that. It's actually almost like SEO matters even more now.
Yes.
Which is an interesting way. It just takes a little bit of a different form in a way, at least to the end user, obviously. So let me ask a question that I've seen percolate, because obviously like in the agency space that I run in, like, you're starting to see a little bit of this now. Is there such a thing as, like, I don't even know the acronym specifically, but like AI optimization or AI search optimization or whatever they're talking about there, not just search engine optimization as we're all accustomed to, but is there a way to actually optimize? Is there any way to do anything special to optimize for, like, to show up in ChatGPT or show up in wherever?
Yes. So first of all, this acronym, there's a lot of debate around what the acronym is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Lots of people have lots of opinions. There's quite a few acronyms out there. They all are supposed to represent the same thing, but there's no real consensus yet on what it is supposed to be. There's GEO, there's AIO, and all sorts of fancy acronyms, but they all represent the fact that it's not enough to optimize for the search engines. You also need to optimize for the AI model that is supposed to represent your brand, your domain, your site, whatever. And so, yes, you can optimize for that. But there's 2 caveats. One is that we went from a very comfortable position where we had a monopolist controlling pretty much all of search. So as much as people were complaining about that monopoly, it meant that you had one set of rules and one playground to play in and to compete in. So you knew, you had clear expectations of what you're supposed to do to optimize. Now, every AI system has their own search engine behind the scenes. Some are powered by Google, some are powered by Bing, some are powered by Perplexity, some are powered by something completely custom. And so the entire ecosystem is fragmented again. So for the search part, it's already harder now to optimize because you have several different competing sets of rules to optimize for. And then on the AI side, there's 2 elements. There's getting into the training data so that the AI system by itself already has an understanding and a sentiment towards your brand. And then there's, on the other hand, making sure that when you appear in search results, that you're not only looking like noise. And let me get into that a bit. The AI systems fundamentally are statistical models. And statistical models, they are statistical models that also compress their data for efficiency's sake. So the training data is basically a statistical analysis of the entire web of knowledge that they found and gets a general narrative that it stores and the outliers to it. And if you're part of the general narrative, chances are pretty high that you're just being cancelled out as noise. You're not appearing as a signal. You're just part of, this is the average of what brands represent. Like, these are shoes.
Right.
You're not Nike, you're not Reebok. You're just part of the shoes blob of data, and all the details that you might have been providing just ended up being noise. So in a statistical model, you need to be an outlier of some sort. So branding, sentiment, reputation, all of those things become even more important. It's not enough to be something that is clearly identifiable as that, because you might end up just being noise within that concept instead of a brand that is represented as an outlier.
That's tough. I mean, it makes total sense when you lay it out like that, but it's tougher. I feel like, I'm trying to think of as like, a small business owner or something like that, thinking, getting all that's a little bit outside of our bubble, right? They understand the internet, they understand Google, they understand whatever. And they're like, oh, my clients aren't going to be looking for me on AI. But honestly, I could already see myself like going to AI and thinking like, hey, how do I fix my faucet? And then once I realize that, maybe I'm not going to do that myself. Maybe I need to call somebody and I say, hey, like, I'm already there. Why wouldn't I ask? Why wouldn't I say like, hey, I'm in Pittsburgh, I'm in Miami, I'm wherever. Like, can you give me some recommendations? And it's not going to be the same experience as we're accustomed to, for the past 10, 15 years or whatever. It's not going to be those lists. It might be a list of things, but it's going to be in, a ChatGPT context window. It's not going to be in a full, paginated list like Google. So I guess we're answering the question for those types of businesses and the agencies serving them. But at the same time, is there really an answer other than just, you have to just care about your brand even more and care about like your reputation and everything? Like, is there anything technically, or are we still on the cusp of that you could do? Is there any way to, with a Yoast or something, is there a way to configure things to land better in a ChatGPT, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. There's many things you can do, even as small brands. So, for example, as a small brand, usually you don't compete at the global level. Yeah. You compete at a regional or local level. So making sure that your local SEO is on point is a big differentiator, because probably people don't ask, who can fix my plumbing, but people ask, who can fix my plumbing in San Francisco? And then local SEO becomes that more important, because the search behind the scenes will then only surface the local results that are clearly defined as being local and relevant. And so you will actually appear in the first few elements and be seen as super relevant. So all the products, Yoast has a local SEO extension, there's others out there. All of those will help you in that case. So having a local search, for example, is highly contextual. And as long as the right context is passed in, it will also feed into the search behind the scenes. So that will generally work. If a smaller brand would want to compete globally, that's a different question. That is a much tougher question, because they will need to compete on both the search results side and on the brand sentiment side. So we recently launched a product. It's a first iteration where we want to give you insights into how an AI system sees your brand. So you give it a brand name, you tell it what the brand is supposed to be about. It will generate a few sample questions that it thinks people will want to look for. You can adapt them as needed, and then it will continuously do those as requests against the 5 most popular AI systems that we have right now, and see, do you appear in the results? If you ask the AI to rank you where do you appear? Do any of your competitors appear as well? So you can provide it with competitor information and will compare against the competitors. What is the sentiment? Does the AI see you as positive, negative? And you can then track that over time and actually get observability into how you're currently performing and maybe even tracking what you're doing. Is it actually working with the AI systems? So that's the first step. You cannot optimize something that you have no data on.
It's a good point. Yeah. So it's like a search analysis. It's like the stereotypical like other tools that are out there for organic search research, but for AI.
Yeah, in a traditional model, you would call that like a rank tracker, how well you rank and track that over time. And if you do SEO work for each keyword you want to rank for, you would need to see improvements over time. Yeah. But here you don't see those rankings. You don't have access to the search results behind the scenes. So you can only track how well you will be surfaced as the end result, as the end answer. And so we want to help you provide targeted questions that help you get proper visibility into how AI perceives your brand.
This is something that people could get right now, like from Yoast?
Yes, it's available. It is not part of the WordPress plugin. It's a separate product because it's not directly tied to WordPress in any way. It's just that works for any brand. And that has been launched a few weeks back and is available as a paid product. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure we put the link to that in the description.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, yeah, because I'm definitely, I would love to check that out because that's the other thing is like, traditionally, like you said, trying to understand your ranking is, for some people, it's probably like, how do I rank higher, whatever. And it's hard to conceptualize, but this is even harder to like fully wrap your brain around, like, because you have no frame of reference. It's like, oh, we were, 10 last week and now we're like 4 or whatever. But in this case, it's more like, it's almost like all or nothing. Like you have to be one of like basically the one that AI would recommend. And yeah, I don't know.
It is less dramatic than you make it sound now. It is all or nothing, but it's much more highly contextualized. So people don't enter 3 words into the AI systems to search for something. They enter full requests. So it's much more contextualized. And ideally, the request would actually already be a perfect match for surfacing you as the answer. Then it should be obvious that you will be surfaced. Otherwise, the system is not working because the request was so detailed that it was not up to interpretation.
I think it's in that frame, the way that you frame it, I agree with what you're saying. And to say it a different way, it's like instead of, in Google, I actually already still have this problem because sometimes I go to my Google on my phone and I'm thinking like, I'm in AI mode. Like I know it has an AI mode, but I'm still in the search bar and I'm thinking like, oh, I want to put like a long prompt in here.
Yes.
And it's like, hey, this is not going to work well.
Yeah.
So it's because I'm so used to just clicking the mic on ChatGPT and giving it a whole paragraph of stuff. So, but like the thing is, I think it's like most things, it's a double-edged sword, obviously.
Yeah.
Like it's really awesome that we're moving this way. Obviously, there's going to be pros and cons and hurdles and all this sort of stuff. But I think the one point though, to like kind of summarize all that to businesses or agencies that are servicing businesses like this, if you want to get surfaced in these AI tools, you have to realize that what you just said is absolutely correct. It is more contextual based, but you have to, like the Yoast tooling does, like that you're saying, or this new product, like you have to give the world, so to speak, or the web, the context.
Yes.
It's like it's not going to just guess. So you can actually, I don't want to say, I mean, you can influence it, like that's a better word, but I'm saying like you kind of like game the system, not really, because it's not, you need to give the context. It's even more important to give the context. Before, obviously you were ranking and maybe you were kind of like ranking for keywords specifically, but I feel like now, hearing all of this and thinking about it, part of the strategy is just put as much information that you can that is related to the context that you want to be associated with, which isn't that much of a deviation from what we had before, but it is to a degree because it's very specific now.
Yes.
And you could be the only person that kind of, it doesn't even have to be in the exact format. It's not like a, word for word thing anymore, but it's because it has the ability to understand and kind of extrapolate on what you're saying, if you can just give more context, which somebody like me, very long-winded, like I could do a lot of that, right? For my brands, like that is something that's actually kind of comforting to think about that.
The thing is, because it's so much more highly contextualized, people see a huge drop in traffic for their regular sites. But at the same time, when somebody actually ends up on their website, they see a huge increase in conversions. What we need to get away from is what we did in the past. We try to make sure that we end up in the search results high enough to statistically get a click. And that click, then you hope that the human would click on it and the ad would already monetize your content, or you would show like nice pictures and use sales tactics to get people to scroll down to click on the buy button, things like that. So you try to get them to your website and then you started explaining what it is all about. And we need to get away from that. The moment you appear as a search result for the AI system, it needs to have a clear picture of whether it's even worth spending tokens and bandwidth downloading content to check further. So you need to do a much better job of communicating what your product, what your site is about. And you need to have everything much more structured. You need to have like schema information in your website. You need to have clear information architecture in your website, because when the AI navigates your website, it is less patient with bad navigation patterns. It is not as easy to trap it with psychological means and so on. So you just need to be a much better communicator once you appear in those search results.
Yep. A lot of good information here, guys. I hope you're taking notes. I hope you've been taking notes throughout all this. I'm going to switch it up for our last question here because these types of conversations, I feel like I know that I've seen on the schedule. We've been in the rooms here. Again, we're in Miami here at CloudFest USA 2025. A lot of these types of conversations happen here. Like a lot of these topics are about AI, about search, about like the future of everything. Alain, as somebody that has a lot of experience, a lot of different events over the years and everything, obviously you're a regular at the main CloudFest event. And now this one over here, we appreciate you coming across the pond to attend here. Great to see you. Just for anybody out there that's maybe catching this interview and they are thinking about, maybe they couldn't attend, maybe they have a little bit of FOMO for missing out on 2025. What would you say directly to those folks if they're considering coming in 2026? Like, what are some of the hallmarks of these types of events that they should consider, stopping by next time?
So one of the hallmarks of CloudFest is that people are here to do business, but in the best possible way. So they're all friendly, they're all open, and we can all have fun together, but also big deals are being signed here. Everyone is here to make business, to earn money. So if you want to join a place around hosting and domains and so on, if you're only in the slightest touching on those areas and you just want a place where you can be honest about, yes, we all want to have fun, but also we all need to make proper money to make this worth a while, CloudFest is just the place to be. That was already a hallmark in Europe, where everyone had 110% fun and signed 110% business contracts. And it seems to be like CloudFest USA is doing a great job of replicating that here across the pond. So if you just want to have an event that combines fun with just honest business, and we all know why we're here, then that's the place to be.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. Alain, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I greatly appreciate it. Do you find folks in the audience here? Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you at CloudFest USA 2026.